Welcome to another Daily Classics top pick based on originality, condition, and price. Today's feature car is a 1987 Porsche 928 S4, one of my all-time favorite cars. My name is Rob Lofaris. You're watching the Daily Classics channel. Let's go check this car out. I found this car yesterday on Facebook Marketplace, and we'll blow it up so we can all look at it. And it's a Porsche 928 1987 S4, 155,000 miles, which is high. The car has the rare manual transmission. The asking price is $18,550, kind of a strange ending price, and it's located in Massachusetts. And I'm a little mixed on this one. I have positive and negative comments on this car, and we'll get into that in a little while. But the 1987 Porsche 928 rolled in the second generation 928. If you remember Tom Cruise's 928 in Risky Business, that was the first generation. This is the second generation. And to start it off, it featured an all new fascia, a new bumper. The headlight buckets were a little bigger, and the rear bumper had this really beautiful sculpturing headlights tail lights that were much bigger, and a beautiful whale tail that was really sculptured nice to the back. And when we get into the photos, I'll show you that. The interior more or less left the same, but the engine, the news on the engine side was the engine was an S4, which was a 4-valve per cylinder head. So the car was definitely breathing better. And the car got, I think the horsepower was like 320 horsepower. So the horsepower had gone up as well. So this car has got 155,000 miles. We'll talk about that. And but the most important comment on this car is that it's a manual transmission. So I'm thinking it's one of just 500 imported to the United States that year with a manual transmission in 87, because I sold these cars new when they were in the showroom. And when I ordered these cars, you can only order automatic transmissions. And in order to change an automatic allocation to a manual transmission, you had to show, like $5,000 or $6,000 deposit to the factory, so they'll let you change it to a manual transmission. And the reason being is that there were a lot of colors on these cars, and the dealers, we would swap these cars around to all different dealers in order to put a deal together. They were $60,000 cars back then, and the people that were buying these cars were very particular about the colors and the interior trims and things like that. So you definitely wanted to meet their satisfaction every time you sold one. So it's the manual transmission is very rare car to find. Let's get into the actual ad itself and see if we can just talk it through a bit. Obviously, the seller is a car enthusiast. He has a beautiful garage. He's got a lot of toys. He's got, looks like a Volkswagen Beetle here, like a Super Beetle or something. And he's got a lot of go-karts and things like that. So he knows what he has. The exterior of the car looks in really nice shape, and that's what caught my attention. And the interior has a lot of wear for 155,000 miles. It's what to be expected. One of the big negatives is this speed shifter type of shift knob that he put in there that's totally different than the manufacturer's shift knob. So I'm concerned that, he did something here, and I'm hoping that's not, to drive this car hard. Uh, so he wanted a better shift pattern and such like that. He does not note here that he did a timing belt at 155,000 miles just recently, and he changed the steering box. He changed the belts, some of the wiring, and he does mention the shift components were changed, and hence that's the reason we see a non-OEM, shifter here. But that's probably minor. The concern here, of course, on the interior is the dash cover, and that's probably hiding a lot of whoopage. These were leather dash trims. Actually, you had a choice back then if you chose leather dash or not. But I'm thinking it's leather if it really warped, because they got a lot of sun through those windows and they had a tendency of warping. And if you remember back then, the 928 dash pod, the actual instrument panel and the steering wheel moved as one unit. So when you got comfortable in the car, you would move the steering wheel up or down, and the dash pod would move with it, which was really kind of cool. This car does not have the rear air conditioning. That was another option that they had for this car. I don't see it in the photos, but some of the photos are very limiting for what we can see and can't see. On the engine side, I'm not seeing any major differences to the engine. The engine looks somewhat original. I'm not seeing aftermarket parts to it. Um, Looks like he sprayed painted this crossover bar. I don't believe it was silver back then, but I could be wrong. But everything looks original, as original can be. I'm looking for his air cleaners, but oh, there's the air cleaner right back there. Okay, so it was different that year. They came with standard with a sunroof. The body side molding was a factory add-on. You can also delete that if you didn't like it on a special order. And there's that rear tail spoiler that was new for 87. The rear lights were bigger, much more modern looking than the previous generation as well. So overall, the car looks to be an original type car. I'm not sure those wheels are original for 87, so they may be after, later year car wheels, or I'm not sure where they came from. I'm not certain these are 928 wheels, but I could be wrong. So getting back to the actual post that I had on Facebook, the pros and positives and negatives. The positive was, in summary, it's a great model year. It's a new body style. The S4, it was a much improved engine. The body looks original and without any major flaws, at least in the photos anyway. And the engine bay looks original. And with care, 155,000 miles isn't too much to ask from this driveline. On the negative side, the dash is likely warped. The leather seating surfaces are worn. The speed shift knob might indicate some hard driving. An unknown undercarriage because there's no undercarriage photos on the car. So, and at 155,000 miles, it's a lot. It's a lot to ask on the original clutch if it hasn't been changed already. So those are the questions I would ask. So in the price summary, I said it's likely worth $12,000 to start the conversation, but I probably wouldn't go much higher than that unless all the questions I had were answered in real positive documented answers. So if the car was perfect in that regard, it might be worth 15,000. These cars, once you own them, will feel like a money pit once you bring it home, because they're exotic cars, folks. These are not simple cars to work on. But lately, you might be very surprised on the return on investment in 8 years, because if this car was a 75,000 mile 1987 S4 with a manual transmission in decent shape with no rust and original paintwork and all, he can probably get $40,000 on this on Bring a Trailer Tonight. So that's the price gap between this car and a car that would be in better shape. So that basically wraps up the 928 story tonight. If you'd like to join and find this car and get more conversation, just visit our Facebook page. There you'll find the links for the cars that we feature, and you can follow it right to the ad and talk with the owner if you like. We have 10,200 members on our Facebook page. And so we have some great conversations. So join us there. And please like the video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to this channel because we're trying to do live Q&A and we need some more subscribers to get that going. Until then, thank you very much for all your support for this channel. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good night.